I'm going to be looking at EA, Electronic Arts. Today, the makers of Madden and FIFA. Video game making is up significantly since March. People have been inside. What do? Let's play some games. So here we're looking at a chart with weekly candles. Each candle represents 1 week. And we can look at monthly candles too. And we can see this right here. This is 2012. Since 2012, EA has done very well. Back in 2018, EA dipped really hard, all the way down to the mid 70s. Wow. Yeah, completely reversed. Complete reversal. So once EA hit this downtrend, no longer in the uptrend, coming up here, coming up and down these last 2 years, and just in March, EA started to see an uptrend again. Now I've already drawn some lines on here, and we'll go to the daily candles now. Each candle's 1 day. A couple things I notice. So one, it almost seems like we had a double top about. Not quite, but almost. Double top is when the stock's heading upwards and finds resistance at the same place twice. So back in 2018, it was about 150. And just back in August, it's 147 almost, just about. Not quite the exact same, not the exact same resistance, but very close nonetheless. So it's almost a double top. Now let's break it down. I drew some trend lines here from the bottom in March. This one has a steeper slope. Most stocks broke through their steep slope uptrends around this same time because we had the September sell-off. Okay, and so we see that the stock dropped. You know, when a stock's dropping hard, it's going to find support somewhere. And so EA was up here on 145, dropped hard for a couple days, and we found support right around 123.5, 123.5, something like that. And since then, since September 8th, the beginning of September, it's been over a month. It's been like 45 days since then. We'll zoom in a bit. All right, we've seen EA claw up, back down to the same exact support, come up to this line. That would be our new resistance because it couldn't get above that. It kind of tested it twice here, and here. And then we see EA jolt back down and hits the same support. It's actually a little bit higher, but that shouldn't really mean much. And now we see EA come back up, test the same resistance again. So this is range bound, or we could call it, consider it to be consolidating. Now we've got a couple trends here. I'm actually going to draw one more. Let's see. I wonder if that will. Okay. So there's no guarantee, but this could be considered an inflection point. Got a downtrend here from the top to a lower high, and then we've got our low to our lower, or our higher low. Okay, so we got this trend line heading upwards, and this trend line going down. But we notice though that EA is pretty much just consolidating between 134 and 124 pretty much. I don't know how long we will see EA consolidate in here. And these trend lines may not even be effective, this downtrend and uptrend. We would know that it would be effective if we see EA hit a resistance on this trend line. That would tell me that buyers are watching that trend line for their resistance and for their support. And it would tell me that sellers are watching this trend line. If EA was coming down here, maybe hits this support, but then bounces down from this resistance, right, and then consolidates further. And then if we were to go up or down, that would give me further indication that it was either going up or down in a larger downtrend or a larger uptrend, right? The best way I'd say is I would ultimately be watching for it to break above 134, but not just touch it like here, or maybe break out half candle. I'd want to see it break out all the way, so full candle and nice volume above this resistance. So I'm not initiating a position on EA yet, because I don't know. It could end up heading downwards if it breaks below 123 about. Although I don't think it will, because I have looked at the fundamentals and looked at other video game makers. EA has a really nice balance sheet, solid growth. I mean, all video games are getting solid growth. I think I'm not sure if this statistic is exactly correct, but it's like 15% more users for particular EA games, something like that. And I think the users were already high, so not much room to push up higher, but still, they've still seen solid growth, as well as all other video games. I mean, I think video games will still continue to be as popular, if not more popular, in the next year. People are still staying inside more than they are going outside. And not that I look at price to earnings for value, because I don't know if I really consider price to earnings the best value indication, because it's very basic. But I do look at it. It gives you a very surface level idea of value. Compared to the other video game makers, EA has a price to earnings that's quite fair. It's like 19 PE. Whereas the other video game makers, their PEs are a bit higher. So that helps with the value. Not that PE is going to automatically drive up EA just because there's a low PE. But what it means is that there's room for that price valuation multiple to expand. That multiple can expand into 30 PE. And that tells me that either price is going up or earnings are coming down. Now, I think we'd want to see price going up instead. But I'm not making a position in EA just yet. I'm going to wait for it to break above this resistance. And if it breaks below this support, that's going to indicate to me that EA is going to head lower and lower. And in that case, I would not start a position in this stock. I don't buy puts to short usually. I don't really do that, so I would just move on to the next stock. A lot of stocks right now are probably going to be consolidating too, so watch for these consolidations. And they're probably going to be starting back around sometime in September. They'll be range bound between a resistance and a support. And just watch those stocks to break above or below that resistance or support. Now all I did, I just set an alert. See when it comes above 134.15. I think that's what I did. So that way I don't just have to look at the graph every single day. And if I never get alerted, then I just never have to worry about it. And so we'll see. We'll see what happens with EA. It may become an official position, but definitely not yet. I don't see anything that would indicate it deserves an official position. So be on the lookout on our forums for new positions. We'll have some new ones this week.